Ow! Is there a seam? Let's roll a little bit more, see if there's a seam. I thought they were all together. That's already too long. You can see, it's pulling apart a little bit here, see. See, I thought they came already. Yeah. All right. The other side. Yep. So, I am here at the farm about to build some beds. The first field block, which we're calling George, after George Washington, our first president who was a farmer. So, what I've done here is from there to where that pin is 50 feet. They're gonna be 50-foot beds. There's gonna be 10 rows, 30 inches each with an 18-inch walkway. So when you do the math, it's 50 feet long by 38 and a half feet. So if you're looking, that's 38 and a half is 6 inches. So 38 and a half feet. This is what you do is you do a little math. You put your pins down where they go, 50 feet wide. And basically I'm trying to keep everything even as we go all the way down that way, so that all the rows kind of meet in the same spot. So I use the angle of the hoop house, which is also the same angle as the fence. So from the fence to the first post of the hoop house is 5 feet, and the same thing with the back corner of the hoop house is 5 feet from the fence. So the fence should be even with the front of the property, and then we should just be able to go all the way down the same way. We might have to stagger it a little bit because my land kind of goes on an angle. It's like a rhombozoid, I think they call that. So anyway, when you square root it, you use a little, I think it's the Pythagorean theorem. I could be wrong about that. It's been a long time since I've done geometry. But I do remember that a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So when you do a squared this way, it's 50 feet. So that square is 2,500 square feet. And then you add it to the square footage this way, which is 38.5 squared, which is 1480 something. And then you add them together, and then you find the square root of c, which is your answer. And then you basically get the square of that, and that gives you 63.10. So 63.10 is just over a foot, or 63 feet, 1 inch, and about a quarter of an inch. So that's where we put the pins. That's more or less accurate. So now we've got our box. So basically, the next step is to string a line from there to there, and then we'll know exactly where the front line of our beds are. And what I've done, if I can find it, I think it's in here. What I've done is create a little template out of a piece of wood. So the stakes are going to be permanently in the ground. That way I can make my rows nice and straight every time I turn over a bed using string. So the first bed, this is going to be wood chips all the way up to the end of this tarp, this weed barrier. And then the first bed is going to be right where the other pin is. So where these lines are, right there and there, is 30 inches apart. So basically, you put your stakes in where the template is, and the very end here is 18 inches from there to there. So that's where the next post goes, which you'll then move this down, and that'll be the start of your next row. So that's how we're building beds here on the Texas Freedom Farm. Just thought I'd give you a little update. I gotta clean up the edges a little bit. Some of the weeds didn't get killed, but as you can see, it's a nice clean bed for the most part. The tarp did its job. It's pretty awesome. I'm gonna use some cardboard underneath when I build them anyway. So it'll definitely be weed free to start with, but here in Texas, it's a little hard to keep up on the weeds, so that's gonna be a concern, but we'll see how we do. All right, anyway, that's a little update for you. 30 inches here, they're inside, and then on the outside, you want 18 inches between here and here. So that those stakes go on the outside, so your next one is already on the inside. You just basically place it right where the other one is. Line it up. Try not to move your string too much. Just pound it in. So you leave a little bit out. So my beds are gonna be about 4 inches high, so I'm gonna make a notch about 4 inches high on the stake, and I'll just run string lines. That's how you build the bed. Hey, it's Dave. I'm out here at the Texas Freedom Farm building the first bed. I found something interesting. I thought that this plot of land had never been developed in any way. When I got electricity, I had to call and have that all hooked up. And so I never thought there was any electricity on this piece of land at all. But I found something really interesting over, where did I put it? Oh, it's right here. On the ground here, you can see this is a ground rod. It's a copper ground rod. So at some point, I think there must have been something out here. I'm gonna have to ask Gary if he knew anything, because he was the first house on this street. So I wonder if they had some kind of electricity out here. But I'm a little worried about digging around it at this point. I did notice that the wires that had been put on the ground rod have all been cut. So whatever was here is gone.